Okay, there you go.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the summer speaker series called Keep It 100, Rubbing Shoulders with Giants. My two friends, Wilson Ramos and Tony Rosica, along with our sons, thought we would do a TED Talk of some sort to kind of bring in people from the community that can inspire, engage, and share some tidbits on athletics as well as life. Our summer speaker series will air every Sunday night at 7 p.m. via Zoom video conferencing. You'll have a unique opportunity to rub shoulders with some giants, learn how they navigated their early years, and how they made it to where they are now. As the audience, you will have the chance to ask questions of our speakers. If you or someone you know would be interested, please message us today. We would love to have you on. Families are welcome to join the call as well. This week's speaker is St. Joe's University former player and coach, Mark Bass. Mark Bass was one of the most prolific shooters and longest tenured assistant coach in St. Joe's basketball history. He was on the staff since 1999. Among his many accolades, Mark is a local Trenton native, attending McCorston High School, where he scored a record 1,400 points and was named Mercer County Player of the Year. He was also inducted in the 2004 CYO Hall of Fame, and most recently, last year, inducted into the Mercer County Basketball Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Mark Bass. Mark, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for that.
Really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to join us. Know you're a busy man, but I know you're always willing to give back to the kids. So we're gonna jump right in right now. Mark, tell us about growing up in Trenton. I know as a young man, you played multiple sports and later navigated to basketball, but tell us about your childhood growing up in Trenton and some of the sports you played.
Well, I grew up, like you said, I grew up in Trenton, West Trenton, around the corner from you. So my childhood was basically spending it with some good friends that I have today. Reggie Coleman, Eric Evans, Arnold Settles, guys that I played basketball, baseball, football with. So it started early. Sports started early. My father got me into sports, basketball and baseball. Just growing up and just going out, that was our entertainment, was playing sports. We didn't play video games much, so it was basically going out, getting into basketball, getting into football, getting into baseball, and playing. Our love, that was my love. I wanted to play basketball, baseball, and try different sports. I just wanted to play some type of sports because that was my love. And fortunately, I was a better baseball player than I was basketball. I enjoyed it. I played Trenton Powell growing up, Trenton Babe Ruth. Then I played my freshman year of high school, played JV, freshman. But basketball, when I started playing baseball, it trickled down into basketball with the AAU, the summer leagues in Trenton, playing at the West Ward growing up. So I had to pick. I picked basketball because I know I could play basketball all year round. As long as I had a gym, I was fine. So that was my goal. And I think, 12, 13, you had that dream of wanting to go to the NBA. But at that point, when I got to high school, I played JV as a freshman, got some time as on a varsity team. Then as my sophomore year in high school playing, I started as a sophomore on that team, but I never played point guard. So I was a 5'9", 2 guard playing with a 6'4" point guard. So when you look at that, you like, wait a minute, the roles should be reversed, but I played with a 6'4", he was All-American. Went to Seton Hall, Brian Caver, everybody probably know Brian Caver, and I was a 5'9" two guard. And, you know, fast forward to my sophomore year, we won the state championship. Our junior year, we won the state championship. But we always had a roadblock when we got to the Tournament of Champions, and that was St. Anthony's. St. Anthony's in Jersey City. But it was great fun competing against those guys, playing against Danny Hurley, Roderick Rhodes. So, and far as my senior year ago, we lost our senior year in high school to Seton Hall Prep, to Ira Bowman, Walter Morton, Brevin Knight, who was a freshman at the time. So basketball paved the way for me. You know, all-time leading scorer at McCorston. But I had a roadblock. I had a roadblock with the SAT. I couldn't pass the SAT. That was a thorn in my side from junior year, senior year. So I went to prep school. I went to prep school in Maine. And that was different. I don't know if anybody ever been to Maine. I went to Maine. It was what, 12, 13 African-American basketball players living in an all-white town. All-white town. But the basketball was very high level. My roommate was Johnny Rose, who went to the University of Maryland. He was all-time steals leader in the ACC. When I tell you, great basketball player. So that got me prepared for college, playing against those guys in practice, getting yelled at from our coach, Max Good, who is a great man who I still speak to today, who I love dearly. I mean, when I tell you a man that doesn't see color, he doesn't see color. He pushes you, he drives you. And when I got to St. Joe's, I was there it was myself and 5 other freshmen. So I was like number 6 in that freshman class. They didn't think I can play. The coaching staff's like, I don't know. But once the ball rolled out, it was every man for himself. By the end of the first pickup game, they knew, oh, this kid can play. And they knew because at 5'9", they didn't think I could jump. I was on a fast break on the right wing, got a pass, went up, kid jumped, dunked on it. And they just stopped the game. It's like, whoa, what's going on? Yeah, I'm for real. This is it. If I know I'm going to have to be here for 4 years, this is what I'm going to bring. I'm going to bring this every day because I didn't have a second option. I knew this is college for me. I wasn't transferring. I knew this is it. This is it. So about 4 years at St. Joe's was terrific. Went to NIT finals my senior year, scored 1,000 points there. At one point, I was the all-time leader in three-point. So I just maximized what I had because I was undersized. I had to play hard, or I knew I was going to be recruited over, or they were going to sit me down. So I had to work hard every day because I was at a disadvantage. Okay. Then I went, after I graduated with a marketing degree from St. Joe's, I played overseas. Went to China and played, was there for about 8 months. Great experience, really loved it. But when I came back, it was a new league. When I came back, they really didn't know what they were going to do. And I was in limbo. I was like, what am I going to do with myself? So I got on the phone, talked to my coach from MCI, Max Good, and we were just talking. And I said, Coach, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself right now. Just trying to figure this thing out. So long story short, we hung up. About 30 minutes later, he called me back. He's like, hey, you ever thought about coaching? I said, I thought about it. So he's like, look, come up here. The next day, I jumped in my car, drove 8 hours to Maine, spent 2 years up in Maine. The first team that I coached in Maine, we had Eric Barkley that went to St. John's. Kevin Braswell, he went to Georgetown. We were loaded. We had Andre Williams, who went to Oklahoma State. So we had, when I tell you, we had a college team in prep school. The next year, I think this team was better. They had Karan Butler, who went to UConn. DeMar Johnson, who went to Cincinnati. So when you have those two McDonald All-Americans on your team, it makes your job easy. They compete, they play hard, they were terrific. So after that, I got a phone call from Phil Martelli saying, do you want to come back to St. Joe's and coach? I drove another 8 hours home, and I was at St. Joe's for 20 years. 20 years. Unfortunately, we were let go in 2019 because of new administration, new AD came in, and that's what happened. That's what happens when you have new administration. They come in, they want to make changes, and I've been out of coaching for a year now. And so that's my story, and the bottom line of my story is don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. If you're going to bet on yourself and make sure you're determined to win. It's all about winning at the end. So bet on yourself.
Mark, thank you for taking us down that timeline. That was very extensive, gave us a lot of information there. Before we move on, I want to let the audience know if you have questions, just drop them in the chat. We're monitoring the questions. We'll try to get all your questions answered by Mark. But right now, I'm going to go to Devin. Devin has a question for you.
So, Mr. Bass, what are some key events that shaped you to be who you are today?
I would say my most important key event that has shaped me right now has been my family. My mother and my father, who were my biggest supporters, who came to every game, and my sister, who came to every game, basketball, baseball, whatever it is, whatever award I was getting, they've been there. So that's my backbone. And from there, and having my own family, they inspire me to become even better. My two kids, my wife, so they inspire me to be better than what I was growing up. So those part of having my family and having the support from them makes me smile every day, because I know they have my back, and I know that I can be whatever I want to be because they have my back. And the follow up on that, I would say my friends, my childhood friends that's been with me for I'm 47. So 40 years since I was 7, guys that I know I can count on, my inner circle. You got to have an inner circle that has your back. You're going to have a lot of guys, Devin, that's going to say, you know what, we're friends, we're boys. But when it comes to it, they might not have your back, your best interest in heart, because a lot of your friends are going to be jealous of you. Because either you're a good soccer player, you're a good basketball player, you have your mother and your father. Some kids might not have that, so they might envy you. So you gotta watch who you bring in your inner circle. So you have to establish who's your inner circle and keep that inner circle close. Because a lot of your friends might not have the same goal as you. And a lot of your friends gonna tell you, Devin, let's do this, knowing this is wrong, but we should do it anyway. So watch who you hang out with and make sure you know who has your back and who's close in your inner circle. And I would say the last would be my faith. You know, the good Lord wakes me up every morning. And I say thank you every day. Because without him, there would be no Mark Bass. So every day, I say every day and every night before I go to bed, thank you for letting me see another day. So if you had the 3 F's, family, friends, and faith, you'll be all right. You're going to be all right. You're going to have some bumps in the road, but you can't let it stop. So hopefully I answered your question, Devin.
Yeah, thank you.
Family, friends, and faith. I'm writing that down. F, F, and F. Let's go to John. Excuse me, Sebastian.
All right, so being 5'9" and playing with like over 6 foot players in college, you said like you were mentioning how you dunked on someone who's like over 6 foot, and like since then like the coaches were definitely on you for like, you know, like, oh, this kid's good, and it seemed like you had a pretty good experience in terms of playing time for your 4 years. Have you ever felt like had a period of time where you were like maybe comfortable that you had to get passed through or something like that?
Yeah, even in like I said, when I was at St. Joe's, or even in high school, because you're pushed because you don't know who's coming in behind you. So you have to continue to improve on your skills.
Right.
Because if you don't improve, if you just plateau and stay the same, somebody's going to be better than you. So you have to work on your skills, your ball handling skills, your shooting. You have to get stronger because you're competing in practice every day. So I had to compete every day. And especially being my size, I had to do something to make myself stand out. That means maybe pick somebody up full court or dive for a loose ball, take a charge. So I have to do the extra. And you have to do the extra to get somewhere. You know, you just can't stay the same. If you stay the same and just be level, somebody's always going to pass you. So you always have to improve, even in whatever sport you play or in life. Don't settle being the same. Do not settle, because if you settle being the same, somebody's going to pass you by.
Thanks, Mark. We go take some questions from the audience now. John, any questions out there?
Yeah, I have a question. You said that you had to go to Maine because you had troubles with like the SAT and that was like messing you up and stuff. How did you manage to deal with that as well as become a good basketball player while you were underestimated?
It was stressful. I'll tell you that right now, John. That SAT had me stressed out. Every time I took that SAT Saturday morning, I was stressed. I was stressed. I would do well on all the practice tests. I thought I was prepared, and when I get in there, anxiety just take over. So it was just more of, how can I relax? I know I can do it. And when I finally passed, I was actually home in Trenton when I got the results, and it was like a relief off my shoulders when I got it. But as far as basketball was my outlet. It was my outlet. I knew once I step on that court, I was home. I was in heaven. So I can just take that away and just don't worry about it. But it was an outlet for me when I didn't have to worry about the SAT. But it was stressful. It was stressful for me.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Wilson, what about you? Any more questions from the crowd?
Yes. Coach, I have a question. Do you have a coach mentor during like the middle school, high school, and how it impact on your life?
Have I thought about coaching at the middle school or high school
You
level?
know, like coach mentor, how impact in your life? Do you have like any coach mentor in your life?
Any coaches that mentored me in my life? Yes, a couple. Like I said, Max Good was one, but in my early years, it was two. My father and Harold Hall. Harold Hall was my grade school coach at Sacred Heart on South Broad Street. He's like my godfather. We go play golf now. So he was my mentor. He coached me. He was tough. He was tough on every grade school guy that we had at Sacred Heart. And when he was not there, my father would be the coach. So it gelled perfectly for me because I had two older gentlemen that was hard, but they understood basketball. Their basketball knowledge was great. So that helped shape me into going into high school and going into college and on a professional level. So, Harold Hall and my father, Ernest Bass, they were really big in my life. And I had so many coaches in my life, but those two stand out. I had Dent, Archie, it's so many coaches that paved the way for me that it's been great experience for me.
Let's round it out with Tony in this segment. Tony, you got a question? Tony, you're on mute.
Sorry, Coach. Yes, I have a question. When you went to Maine, we had a practice interview before, and one of the other interviewees brought up a very interesting thing about when he left his nucleus of his family and then went to college, how difficult it was to transition to a new place. And when you left the area and went up to Maine, and was it Maine you said, right?
Yes.
And how did you, you had a good coach there, but what else was it that kind of helped you transition when you didn't have that support that you had back home?
Well,
right there.
Well, they set you up what they call a host family. And I had a host family, Tom and Bonnie Chiquette, who I talked to my birthday, their birthday. We're friends on Facebook. They really helped me because on the weekend I can go to their house. They treated me like I was their son. So they helped. They would come, like when we would play in New York, they would come to New York. They even when I was a player at St. Joe's, they would come down and see me when I was in college. So they really helped me. They really helped myself and another gentleman that was their whole son. So they got us through it during that time. So we not stuck in the dorm the entire time. So you can go to their house from Friday after school to Sunday before dinner and just hang out and have some semblance of a family. So they broke it up for us.
That's great.
Mark, so you talked about a lot of your experience. We got a few young people on the phone, some aspiring athletes that want to go on to the next level to play. Talk about a little bit the difference of what it took to play at the high school level and then the transition to college.
Well, at the high school level, it was more of your team is better than the next team. And my point is, like I said, my high school team, we were best in the Mercer County my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And we played against most of those guys in Mercer County. So, but when you get to that prep level and college level, if you're not on an AAU team, now you playing against guys who were the best player on their team. So now when you go into a prep school or college and you trying to mold a team of guys that are 1,000-point scorer or player of the year in their county or in their hometown, how can you mess that and be a good team? So now the thought process changed. Okay, I was the best player on my team, so do you still trying to be the best player on this team? Or are you trying to fit what the coach needs? Or are you trying to fit what the team needs? So when you make that transition to college, university, you gotta take that mentality of I'm not the man anymore because everybody on that team is the man. How can I fit and how can I make my team win? So you have to take that, because if you go on that mentality, I'm the best, you're going to find yourself on the bench, or it's going to be just like everybody nowadays, transferring. You're going to transfer. You're going to transfer by Thanksgiving or Christmas because you thought, well, I'm the man. He's not playing me, so now I got to leave. And that's the trickle down. And honestly, it's happened now in high school, because if I'm not the man in high school, it's the coach's fault. Now I got to transfer. No, it should. Everybody has a role they have to play if you want to win championship. So you have to know your role when you get to college. Know your role, because you're not going to be the best player every night. It's going to be one night that it's going to be your night. It's not going to be like that every single night.
Right. And we're going to get into the coaching side a little bit later, but talk about, from the coaching standpoint, 20 years of experience, you coached a lot of young men. What transition have they, what's some of the biggest struggles they have going from high school to college when it comes to being in the classroom?
Well, it's twofold with the transition. Being on your own, being on your own meaning you don't have mom or dad waking you up saying you have to go to class. That's a big transition for a lot of kids, because they say, well, shoot, high school started from 8 o'clock, we go 8 to 3. College, you might have workouts at 6:30, breakfast, but your first class is not until 10 o'clock. Second class not until 2 o'clock. So what are you doing in between that time to prepare yourself academically, socially, on campus? So that's the big transition. Now, academically, you don't have somebody when you come home from school, mom, dad saying, did you do your work? What test you have next? No, what you have now is your professor coming to you the first day, here's your syllabi. Read through it, and this is what you have to do. Now, playing a sport is a little different, because you have an academic advisor who you're going to sit down and they're going to grab your syllabus, your syllabi, and tell you, this is what we have planned out. Stick to the plan, you'll be fine. But if you're a regular student, it's a little tougher. But it get tough for athletes, because they feel though they can wait to the last minute. You can't wait to the last minute, because you're different. You're different because you're playing a sport and you're going to class. And the professor know if you're a basketball player, especially at St. Joe's, because we didn't have football. So basketball was it. You're going to be the tallest guy. You might be, it's a handful of African-American guys on campus anyway, so they know you. And they may single you out. So you have to be on point. You have to, Simon's in early. You can't be late. You got to be prepared, because they're going to call on you. And some professors they want to embarrass you if you don't get the answers right. So you have to be on point socially, academically, because even socially, you can go to a party, they know who you are, they want to single you out, a fight might break out. What are you going to do? You going to stand and rumble, or you going to turn the other way? Now, stand rumble is a possibility. It's going to be all over the newspaper. So it pulls you in two different directions.
Insightful. Dev, you have a question?
Yes. So going back a few points, I want to know, how big of a transformation do you have to make to your body going from the high school to the college level?
You have to make, that's the key. That's the key. Strength and eating. Your nutrition and strength. That's the key, because when you make that transition from high school to college, remember, you 18, 19, some guys are 17. You're playing against some guys that are 21, 22 years old. Your juniors and seniors already them beefed up and are stronger. So you have to take advantage of the strength and conditioning now before you get there. And also the eating part is so important. Eating and the proper rest. The proper rest. You got to get 8 to 9 hours of sleep, because if you don't, your body's going to shut down. So you got to take care of your body, because that's going to get you over the top. So you have to.
Great question, Dev. Let's go to Sebastian.
So what did going off of what you just answered, what did you have to do? Like, what did you personally do to match the fitness levels of some of the college players?
Well, see, I'm gonna take you back to, like, this is the early '90s. So we just lift. We lift. We didn't have a nutritionist, so we just lift. And at night we'll go across the street to Larry's and have a cheesesteak. So the nutrition part for us out the door. So we, it's over time that it changed. So we lift. Like, I bulked up, but I'm bulking up and I'm getting fat because I'm eating cheesesteaks and drinking sodas. So now when you fast forward to today's basketball, where your college, you lift and you have training table, and your meal is so much healthier now than it did when I was playing. It's totally different. So my take out of it is, I wish I had the nutrition part back when I was playing. I think it would have benefited me more. I probably could have played a little longer. And on top of that, to go back to Devin's question, you got to stretch. If I knew that stretching was a big part in the '90s that it is now, I probably could be playing basketball to this day if I would have stretched. So stretching, strength and conditioning, and your nutrition is a big part of it.
Yeah, and I noticed, like, now, like, we have phones, like at our age we can just look up, how do I get faster? How do I eat? What do I eat to get faster? Like, it depends on the sport. You can always look up stuff depending on the sport. So it's a lot easier today. I agree with that. Yeah.
I wish I had that. I really do wish we had that technology back then. Or, nowadays you have all the trainers. We didn't really have the trainers. We would go in and not beating up on the trainers. We played. Our training was playing basketball. So now when you in the training, it takes away from playing basketball 5-on-5, getting hit up in the head or taking a bump, getting to the basket. You don't get that when you with a lot of the trainers, because you're doing a lot of individual stuff. And another good thing that we would do would play 2-on-2, 3-on-3, just to know how to use a screen or how to get over a screen, just in 2-on-2, 3-on-3.
Yeah.
John, we have anything from the audience?
Yeah. What is the first piece of advice that you give a freshman coming into college as like a first year on a college team?
Keep your mouth shut. Do what you're supposed to do and learn. I dealt with a lot of freshmen on my team in my 20 years, thought they knew everything. and you don't know because you never experienced college. So how do you know something you never experienced? So watch, learn from the older guys, and then you have a chance. But when you come in and think you know, I know how to lift, or I can wait and do this assignment later. How do you know if you never did that assignment? Or how do you know if you never did that drill? So as a freshman, come in, keep your mouth shut, and learn. Because your time is going to come where you have to pass that on down to the next freshman. But you got to have your locker room set so that freshman knows who's in control of the locker room. My seniors are in control of the locker room. So that freshman, you watch and you navigate to a senior that's been there, and he takes you take him or her under your wing, you should be in good shape your first year.
Thank you. Wilson, you have anything from the audience?
Yes, coach. What is the qualities as a coach you're looking for a players to be the leader from your team?
Coachable, vocal, lead by example, on and off the court. Those are the qualities that we look for. But you do have some leaders that are not vocal, that lead by example. So we know if that locker room is out of hand, that leader of the team is going to take care of it. You don't have to depend on the coach. Your leader is going to take care of that. So your leaders, and sometimes your leaders are not seniors. Sometimes your leaders are sophomores and juniors. But those are the ones that you look for. For example, like Jameer Nelson. He was a quiet leader, but he led by example. He practiced hard. He was early. He stayed late. He worked hard. He led by example. And that's why he played 14 years in the NBA. And another kid, Langston Galloway, same thing. He led by, not vocal, but he was in the gym. He was never late. We never got a phone call from a professor saying that he was late for class or he left early. You know, those are the things. See, when you get to college, at St. Joseph, because it was a small school, only 5,000 students, and we didn't have football, we knew when you didn't go to class. We knew when you left class early or were late. We knew that by the time you got to the gym because we had a rapport with the professors. So you're really not pulling the wool over your coach's eyes or the academic advisor eyes because they have a rapport with the professors. So you have to stay on top of it, but those are the leaders' qualifications that we look for.
Very good information, Mark. This is what we're looking for. A lot of our guys and gals who are student athletes just don't understand, and this information is invaluable. Tony, you have anything from the audience?
Yes, one of the audience, people in the audience had asked about what was it like to play in China and your experience there?
It was quite an experience. I tell people every time, it was cold in the gyms. They smoked cigarettes in the gym. At halftime of one of the games, I was sitting there and one of my teammates cracked open a Miller High Life. The basketball part was different. I never experienced that. Living in the city, you couldn't catch a bus because the buses were always crowded. And I would tell people, we would walk down an alleyway, and the alleyway had stores, but the stores are open. So you can walk past one store, it could be a dentist, person sitting in a dentist chair out in the open. The next door could be selling food, but you will see on a rack a dog that is skinned. So you're like, wait a minute, they getting ready to cook this dog over here. Then across from that, they selling clothes. So you'll see, you're liable to see anything when you're walking down the streets of China. But it was a great experience. We went to Beijing. Beijing is like going to New York City. Bright lights, having fun. It was really great experience.
Mark, how many Americans were on that team in China?
It was 4 Americans. Only 2 can play at a time.
Gotcha. And what about the language barrier?
That was difficult. We had an interpreter, but 9 times out of 10, the interpreter will always interpret it wrong on the court because we had an American coach. We had an American coach, and his assistant coach was Chinese, and our interpreter. So every time the American coach would tell the interpreter, "This is what I want you to say," he would interpret it wrong, and the guys would be looking crazy. So it was quite an experience.
Sounds like a challenge. And just one last thing on that. You stayed in the hotel for the whole season?
Yes, for the whole season. We stayed in the hotel, ate in the hotel. When we would go out to eat, we would go to McDonald's. We would go to McDonald's and eat McDonald's, and half the menu is in Chinese, the other half is in English. So that's what I ate for 8 months, either in the hotel or McDonald's.
I have another question about that. Why were only 2 Americans allowed to play at once?
That was the rule. That was the rule in that federation, that only 2 Americans can play. So when an American comes, he only subs for that American.
And Mark, didn't Magic Johnson help start that league?
Yeah, because a lot of I don't know if you remember the guy Mike McGee. He played with the Lakers. Jawan Oldham played with the Chicago Bulls. He was on my team. So Magic he had a hand in that league also. It was just starting up, because when we first got over there, we didn't play for about 2 weeks. So we didn't play. Then we didn't get paid for another 2 to 4 weeks. So you were in limbo. You didn't know what was going on.
Right. Let's transition a little bit. Let's talk about your coaching career, because your coaching career was just as long as your playing career, if not longer. So let's talk about what got you excited about coaching, and the transition from playing to coaching at MCI to going to coaching at the next level at St. Joe's University.
I think it was twofold: getting guys better and seeing young guys getting their degree at the end. So that was my joy of getting to coach.
Mm-hmm.
Getting them better, seeing their game develop, then also at the end of those 4 years or whatever, if they did it in 3, getting their degree. So that was my whole focus for coaching, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed getting on the court and getting guys better.
Nice. Devin, you got a question?
You're going?
No, go ahead, Dev.
Back to his question, kinda. When did you first know, like, oh, coaching, this is for me. I really like this job. When did you first know, like, you can have a long run in this?
I think my first couple practices at MCI, just getting in there, because at that time I still was able to play, so I would play and work those guys out and get up and down the floor with them. And when you had those type of players, that was high level players, and they come to you for advice to help them on their game, and you could see their improvement by the end of the season, I knew this was a start for me. And then, you know, when you have guys like I said, Karan Butler and DeMar Johnson, like, look, come on, coach, let's go work out. And you know that you have an impact on that. It's really a worthwhile experience.
Sebastian, you have a question?
Sure. So when at first you were introduced with the offer to become a coach or to learn to become a coach, were there any doubts, or were you just for it? Like, I want to be a coach. Like, this sounds cool.
I had doubts because I never did it before.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it was nervous. I didn't know what I was getting into. You know, I couldn't draw up a play. I couldn't write up a practice plan. So it was all new to me. So, but I took it as, you know what? It's a learning experience. How can I learn from this? How can I get better from doing this, and see where it will take me? So that's how I got into it. And I always loved basketball, but I didn't know the other side of basketball of what a coach do. You know, what kind of stats I'm going to be taking. Am I going to be watching film? So all that was new.
Yeah.
Nice. John, you have anything from the audience?
Yes, I do. Someone in the audience asked, do you ever plan on coaching again?
I would love to. And I don't want to pigeonhole myself just to get back to college. I'm up to coaching high school, junior college, Division 1, 2, or 3. So I don't want to pigeonhole myself, but I would love to get back to coaching because I love it.
Nice. What about you, Wilson? Anything out there from the crowd?
Coach, what was the biggest obstacle you faced while coaching?
Obstacle. I would say the biggest obstacle was losing to get to the Final Four when we lost to Oklahoma State up in the Meadowlands. That was the biggest obstacle because you know what? As a coach, you don't know if you're ever going to get back there.
Yeah.
So not getting there, and you were so close to getting there, and that was in 2004, 03, 04. So, and this is 2020, and I never got there again. So that was one of the biggest obstacles for me. And you just don't know if you're ever going to get back.
Nice. Tony, you with us? You got a question?
I do. Coach, as a coach, I wanted to ask you this question. Let's say you had some players through the years, 20 years, you must have seen so many players. But let's say you had a player who was very talented, very driven, but struggled with the mental aspect of the game. This is kind of that thing you study about in sports psychology, like how to get past their mental blocks. What are kind of advice that you would give a player that you saw in that position?
Well, in that position, because I had some guys you have to spend a lot of time with them off the court so you can connect with them and see how you can help that person to reach their potential. And sometimes it might not get there on your team. You might have, especially if it's a player that's out of the area that might want to get back closer to home. But if he's with you, you got to find a way to connect with that person on a personal level. And if you can't do it, you might have to go out and seek professional help for that person. But if you try to connect with that person on a personal level, like I had a lot of guys that stayed the night at my house because I wanted to connect with that person on a personal level to see where I know where he's at mentally, and I can help him, not just basketball-wise, but just as a person.
Nice.
That's great. Thanks.
All right, we have about a little more than 5 minutes left in this conversation. I want to make sure everyone who took the time to call in and log in to the interview tonight, that we got all questions answered. Wilson, John, Tony, is there anything else out there the audience wants asked that we didn't get in? I know some of the questions were redundant, but if there's any new questions, let's get them out now.
I didn't see any in addition to.
Okay, we're good?
Yes.
Clear, yeah.
Good. What about you guys? Is there any questions you have before I give Mark some one-hitters? This has been very informative.
I have a question for those three gentlemen. Are you guys seniors or juniors?
I'm a junior.
I'm now a senior.
Yeah, I'm now a senior too.
Okay, so what are your plans? And it's for all three. What are your plans, or what do you look for in a college and in a coach that you want to connect with on that college level, and as a coach that's maybe recruiting you, or you may be a walk-on on that team, but how are you going to connect with that coach?
Great question.
I'll start. So for the first part, what do I look for in a college? I'll make sure the campus, looks nice, because if you're going to be staying there for 4 years, you don't want to get sick of it. And even if you may get a little old, you don't want to hate it. But if you find a nice campus, it helps. And not just that, but academics wise, does it have the major you want? And most of all, if you're playing sports, do you like not only the team and how well they're doing, but do you like the players? Like, if you're going to go there for a visit and you meet the players and they seem pretty cool, pretty chill, pretty outgoing, it only makes you want to go there more. And out of a coach, for me, I feel like it's good to be tough, but being too tough can be too much. I like a coach that is tough on me, but not too tough. Like, he first off believes in me, and second off, he lets me kind of do what I need to do, because if I have to do something a certain way and just that way only, then it's going to be harder for me to do what I need to do and successfully. So.
Next.
John, you're going or me?
You're the senior. Go ahead.
All right, I'll go. For me personally, the coach's standpoint, I want to make sure the coach actually wants me on the campus, and we have a good connection from the start. If I know I could connect to you personally from the time we start talking to the time I start on campus, then I know oh, this is the right choice for me. This is the right place for me to go. And for academic wise, I want to make sure for my major, that school is good in it, and they focus on that. So, because sports can only take you so far, and you always need a backup plan. So those are the really main points for me on a coach and the school wise.
Yeah, I'm only a junior, so I've only started to kind of focus on college and where I really want to go. But everything that both Sebastian and Devin have said were, I guess, I could relate to in a way. I like to have a good relationship with my coach, and if I don't, it's I feel like it won't be enjoyable playing for the team. And both of them said, if they need to have the major that I want to follow in, because if something happens where I get injured or something in my career is over, I need to have a backup plan just in case anything happens.
Cool. Mark, we got about 2 minutes left. I just got a text message. I don't know if Adrian's on this call, but a former teammate of ours, Adrian Ellison, said, yeah, ask Mark why he didn't ever send him any tickets to the game.
Tell her he never reached out to me.
Exactly. Listen, what's in your opinion, on any level, what do you feel was your greatest game of your career?
College, I would say the semifinals of the NIT versus Alabama. When we beat them, they had Roy Rogers, who's an NBA player, and now he is assistant coach in the NBA. I think, on the high school level, beating Trenton High at Trenton High senior year, that was an awesome feeling.
For those on the call, we ended their 44-game home winning streak.
So those are the two as a player.
Okay. What was who was your biggest foe or your biggest challenge?
I would be more of team.
Right.
High school would be St. Anthony's.
Absolutely.
College would be UMass because of Marcus Camby, Lou Rowe, Dana Dingle, Dante Bright. That team went to the Final Four. So those teams, and Temple teams were always a thorn in my side in college. And in high school, it had to be St. Anthony.
I totally agree with that. Mark, this has been great, man. Thank you so much. Let me ask you this question. You're the first interview, and we'll ask this every week. Now that you see the format and what we're trying to do with our young people, is there anyone you have in mind that you think would be good to speak to this audience?
I do. I have a friend. He's an entrepreneur. He has his own business. I think he would be great talking to the young kids about how to, like the three gentlemen said, of something to fall back on.
Right.
So if the sports doesn't work, if you want to be your own entrepreneur, he would be great. I would love to put you in contact with him. His name is Gary Stevens, and he's a S&G consultant.
Okay.
He would be very, very informative to your young audience, and to the parents who wants to start their own business, wants to be their own entrepreneur. He would be great.
Nice. Please send me his information offline.
I will.
And we're right at the top of the hour. It's 8 o'clock. This was the quickest hour in the business. Thank you so much again, Mark. All our panelists, everyone who joined us for week one. We'll be back here every week at 7 p.m. We have a big surprise for next week. Someone else from the coaching field. This sport next week will be soccer. So is that confirmed, Wilson?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so again, thank you to everyone that took part. Guys on the call, great job. Hope to see y'all next week. Mark, I'll be in touch soon, baby.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys. You guys take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach.
If our team can stay on, please.